Hey guys, welcome back. If this is your first time to my channel, my name is Cam. Today I'm going to do a video about how to take care of your Phalaenopsis. This is a mini phal that I got from a Facebook marketplace here. Didn't pay for it, it was free. The person who bought this said she doesn't know how to care for it, so she's giving it for free along with one other household plant. I guess that person didn't have time for it. And I saw that and I was like, okay, I'm free. And it's close by, about 15 minutes drive from my house. So I went and picked this one up. And when I picked it up, it doesn't look that great. So we're gonna go tackle this together. Now, if you have not done so, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I'll be appreciated for your support. And also hit the bell notification so that you don't miss any future video that I'll be posting. All right, so let me bring you a closer look and let's tackle this together, okay? All right, so you can see there's two flower spike. I see some mold here, some damages here. I picked this up about 2 days ago. It was in a decorated pot like this, and the pot was full of water. I get that explain why she's giving it away, because she doesn't know how to care for it. And I didn't notice there was water in the pot. I put it in my car. Luckily, I have a rubber mat in my car that doesn't allow water to leak through. So that's one lucky. Pot looks pretty nice. I could use this pot for my other household plant. It's free anyway, so can't complain. Now let's tackle this together. First thing I want to do is I want to remove the two flower spike here. This is already spent. Cut here and here. I think there was a third spike as well, but the person who got this flower already cut it right here. There's a third one right here. Hopefully you guys can see it. Now it's come with this cheap plastic pot that majority of you guys kind of hate. Actually, this is not bad. Consider the root system is still pretty green. Area root kind of dry a little bit. I think that's partly my fault because I leave it out here. Maybe the person who had it indoor where there's receive less light and better humidity than what I have here. I just throw it on my rack right there, the black rack that you should see it back there. Just throw it in there until I have time to take care of it. Now let's go ahead and inspect the roots. I suspect the root system is still pretty good, very decent. From the look at the outside, the inside's got to be good as well. And I'm having a hard time remove this plastic bag out. I don't want to cut it, but anyway, it's coming out now with a little bit of force. Judging at it, the moss is still pretty good. See, it's not decayed yet. It's still pretty fresh. So that means that this moss is recently repotted. Now, my main concern is, will there be a crown rot? Because I see there is black spot around the crown here and some dry leaves. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove them and see what is inside. See if we have any rot. I will go ahead and remove them gently. You want to remove all these dead materials. Right. So after I remove them, I see the crown is still pretty good. There was some black here and there. Not too much of my concern because this part will stay above the media, so I wouldn't be concerning about it. And so let me go ahead and unpot this together with you, show you the root system. Even though if you don't want to repot this orchid, it should be fine. It's not going to have any issues if you just leave it in this original container. Now this root right here, it's already dried on the top. This is still functional because this part is still green. But I have so many roots still viable, I could actually remove this root because I don't like this damaged part right here. You could keep them if you want, but if you only have a few roots left, I recommend you keep this. But looking at the amount of root that I have, I can actually remove them no problem. This one is dry, so I'll go ahead and remove them. This is area root, still green. This part is damaged, but it's okay. I'll leave it alone. For now, I'm just concerned about the dry root and the dead one. You see, when you carefully remove it, the root is still okay. Like this one right here, even though it's still functional, I don't like the part right here, which is dry and mushy. It's already dead. Still functional though, don't get me wrong, because half of the root is still firm. Now let's go ahead and remove the moss, shall we? Like I said, this moss is still pretty fresh. If you want to leave it in here for another year, you could. Not going to have any major problem as long as you control your watering properly. Only reason why I did this is because I want to show you, if you guys see the outer root system is still green like this, you wouldn't need to worry about it, especially the moss is still fresh like this color. It's not blackened and it is still golden brown color. You wouldn't need to worry about it. But I want to do this so that you guys could see how healthy the roots are if you continue to allow this to grow in its own pot right here. You wouldn't have any major issues. I have some that I still have it in its original container and it's just doing fine. If you have not watched my previous video about I'm leaving this moss right along with this cheap plastic container, it's still doing fine. My other one's still doing fine after 7 months. So you can tell that you don't need to go ahead and hurry to remove all this moss and cause more harm to your orchid when you bought the orchid, okay? You don't need to repot it right away. You could wait. And the moss like this is still pretty fresh. Look at this. Okay, the moss is still pretty fresh. Not broken down at all. No plug inside, so that's a good sign. You could tell that the moss is still pretty good. Whoever packed this plant know what they're doing. They pack the root around the moss, so the moss balls just stay in the middle and you don't have a lot of problem. So I'm go ahead and remove some of the dead roots. This one is dead. This one is still firm. Be generous when you remove the dead root. Don't worry about it. If you have a lot of healthy roots, you can be cutting away some of the dead one or semi-dead one. That will regrow. You want to clean the crown here really well. If you are going through this whole process of removing the dead root, you might also just clean them up. This way, you don't run into future rotting issues. As long as you do this part correctly, you shouldn't have any issues in the future. Now, if you don't remove this material right here, it's fine, okay? But just be careful when you water it. That's all you need to do. Be careful when you water it, because if you get the water in there and those dry materials start to rot, then you have major issues. You want to keep a good clean if you are going to do this process. Now trim off any dead root. Like this one right here is dead. I'll trim it back to around here, some fresh root. Okay, like this one, same thing. Just cut it. This one, same thing. Cut it. Okay, there's one right here that is mushy. Cut it. All right, pretty good root system, right? You can see it's pretty good root system. You don't have to worry about it. Anytime you see a good healthy green root like this on the outside in the cup like this, you know on the inside it's probably most likely going to be okay. You don't have a major issue here. This orchid, the previous owner probably did not water until it's fully dry, and that's a good way to water your orchids. Is don't water it until it's absolutely necessary. Now I have some damages on the leaf. I think it's because I leave it in a rack there, too much sun too quickly. I could remove these if I wanted to, but I'm not going to today. If you want, you can actually remove these leaves. I have some sunburn here, and a little bit of burn here that I think it should dry if I just give it some time to dry it up. And this leaf would eventually lose it. That means I only have 2 leaves left, and I don't see a new one growing. Okay, so let me go ahead and clean away these moss. Now I'm going to pot it up. What I'm going to use today, since I don't have any pebbles, I'm going to use something most of you guys probably have already using, or you know, have been using. I have here some bark, medium-sized bark, and some charcoal. Now, this is not some regular charcoal. This is biochar. What does biochar means? It means that I have soaked this and inoculate this in a beneficial bacteria solutions, as in, charging it. Okay, it's already have a lot of life form in there. Now, if you're scarce, don't use biochar. Use regular char. This is the char that I bought, the one that you use for barbecue from any big box stores. This is fine. If this was done correctly, this should have a 90% or higher content of carbon. Biochar can actually harbor a lot of good beneficial bacteria in there, which can be beneficial for your orchids. Now, don't quote me on this, and don't try this if you don't want to. I'm doing it for my own benefit, for my own experiment. You don't have to use what I have. You can just use regular charcoal and use whatever fertilizers that you're going to be using. On this whole process, you can actually add some slow release pellet in there if you want. Phalaenopsis during growth season, you want to feed it as much as possible, okay, so that it grows more leaves and all that. Now I'm just going to mix it up. And I think that's good enough. That's what I'm going to do. Pour some in there. Notice I don't have any hole on the side, and I only have holes on the bottom, which means that I'm gonna keep this pretty much humid inside the pot. Now, when you cut the roots, you want to let it dry it up, let it heal itself. Okay, any open wounds, you want to let it heal itself. You could pot it up, but don't water it for 2-3 days. Okay, let this root heal first before you water your plants. Very important. If not, you will get bacterial infections and whatnot, because this is an open wound. If you want it, you let it sit out overnight, let it dry, and then repot it. I'm just giving you a warning, a heads up, that this can happen if you have an open wound and you don't let it heal first. You don't let it dry up first. You could apply some cinnamon, but a lot of you guys say cinnamon is bad for the roots. I don't use it, but if that's for something that you practice, you go ahead and use it on this wound right here. It's actually going to heal it out faster. Okay, or else leave it out for 24 hours. Okay, this way, when you repot it, you don't have a lot of dead roots. Okay, once it catches bacteria, it's gonna travel up to that root, and it is gonna kill that root. That's a lot of you guys mistaken. After you trim all the root, you just pot it up and water it, because that's what you're told. Water the plant thoroughly. Yes, that's what you're told, but if you don't treat this wound right here, whatever you're told, it's gonna have the negative impact on you. Okay, so make sure when you trim any of the root sections, please allow it to dry it up naturally, or you apply some fungicide to heal it. If not, let it sit out for 24 hours. I am using beneficial bacteria anyway, so I'm not going to be worried much about it, and I'm not going to water this thing for the next 2-3 days. Okay, I'll keep an eye on these leaves. I will cut it if necessarily, but right now I'm just gonna leave it. Hopefully it'll dry it up and not gonna spread. If it spread, I'll chop this leaf back to around here. Okay, because there is some sunburn. If you're concerned, you can chop it right now, but I'm not gonna be concerning about it. I'll keep an eye on it the next 2-3 days to see if these will dry it up. Once it dried up, it's not spreading, I'm just gonna leave this alone, because any green part, any viable green leaf, it still can do photosynthesize, and it's still gonna be producing energy for the plants. Because I only have 2 leaves, 3 leaves. If I cut this leaf out, I only have 2 left, which gonna slow down the growth. So I want to leave it in there first. Now I'm gonna position the plant just above the cup. And it's perfect. It's gonna sit like that. The root's gonna go in there, and I'm just gonna backfill this. Give it a good tap as you fill it up. I think I might be short, a little bit short on media, but that should be fine. I want to tuck some of these under the root. Some of these charcoal right here, I want to tuck it under the root because it has a lot of beneficial bacteria, and I want that to help establish the root system. Again, you don't have to do what I do. I'll just use whatever available, and that's what I have available right now, and that's what I'm going to use. Alrighty, so I think this is fine. I don't need to cover everything up. As long as I cover most of the roots, I should be fine. Not too concerned about it. If you want to top it a little bit more media, you could. But honestly though, it's better to leave like this, because the crown right here is just sitting on top of the media, and that's what you want. You don't want to bury it too deep, because when you bury it too deep, you can cause rot on the bottom. So it's better to have this pot just sitting on top of the media, especially you're gonna allow the media to stay moist. You want to leave this pot right above the media. This way you don't have any problem in the future. Okay, so this is how it's gonna look in this new pot. I use a lot of these deli containers because it is deep, especially for Phalaenopsis. Deeper the cup, the better. You don't have to be wide, but deep is good because you want the root system to go deep down to the pot. If you have a shallow pot, it's not going to provide much of moisture for the root to grow. This way, it gives room for the root to extend, to keep going down to the pot. You're not gonna have any rot issues if you control your watering correctly. I don't water my plant until it's dry. Again, that'll depend on your environment. It could be 2-3 days. In the summertime here, I can water almost every day because I grow outdoor, because it's that hot. We're in the 90s now. It's very hot. All right, guys. So hopefully you guys learned something about how to repot your Phalaenopsis correctly, so that you can avoid some of the mistakes that you made that caused you to kill your orchid. A lot of you guys said, well, I repotted, but my orchid's still dying. Remember what I told you. Anytime you make a cut on the root, you need to heal it by applying some fungicide, some cinnamon, or let it sit out for 24 hours. Let it dry. If you don't let it dry and you repot it, you water it right away, it will definitely gonna cause you more harm than good. So rule of thumb, when you repot your orchid, anytime you trim the root, it's best to let it dry it out to heal it first, or you apply some fungicide. This way, you don't have to worry about the plant's gonna catch any bad bacteria and cause the entire root system to die on you. Okay, and the entire plant will die on you. I will let this sit out for about 2 days before I water, because my biochar is still a little bit moist. Not too much water, but it's just a little bit moist. I want to let it sit out for a couple of days, and I'll give it a good water, and it should be doing good. I'm just gonna leave it in my greenhouse over there. I'm not gonna leave it in this black rack anymore, because I think it's too much sun. It needs to acclimate to the sunlight that I have out here. Even though it's very shade, very much shade by the 2 avocado trees, but it still gets some sunburn, as you can see. 2 days out in the sun with the 90-degree temperatures, phals are definitely gonna get burned. If you guys wondering why your Phalaenopsis sitting by the windowsill and still get sunburned, even though it's not in the direct sunlight, by the windowsill is very dangerous, because unless your window is tinted, if it gets too hot, it will definitely can burn your leaves. Okay, so rule of thumb, put it about 4 or 5 feet away from the window. This way you can avoid some sunburn, or just put a screen over it so that you don't have direct sun coming in. Okay, especially you have a hot temperature. Okay, I don't have a direct sun here in this rack right here. It's always going to be shaded. Problem is, it still gets sunburned. All right, so I'll deal with this leaf as necessarily, but right now I'm just gonna leave it. Okay, so all right guys, thanks for coming, and we'll see you next video. Again, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, hit the bell notifications so that you don't miss any future video that I'll be posting. We'll see you next video.